Let's talk about vocabulary building. So, vocabulary building is really learning new words. Your vocabulary is kind of like the list of words that you have in your head that you're able to recognize and use. And we really want to build that up. Especially, I find many times when we're reading a piece of text, sometimes we can come to a word that we don't know, and the temptation is to just skip that word and move on. But that word might be very important to understanding that text. And so we don't want to skip that word. What we're going to do is we're going to stop and we're going to use a strategy that's going to help us to learn that word. You know, experts say that you need to encounter a word at least 10 times in order to remember it. So, also as part of this strategy, we're going to be developing a way that we're going to be encountering that word that we found, that new word, more than once. And the tool that we're going to use is the Google Dictionary tool located at translate.google.com. Now, it is actually a translation tool. However, the translations, if you try to use them for schoolwork, they don't come out quite right. Your teacher will know that you're using the translate tool. So, and then also, it doesn't help us to actually learn the word if we just translate it. So, we really want to use this more of as a dictionary. So, let's see what we can do. So, let's say I'm looking at, so here's that translation tool. translate.google.ca. And I might have that open while I'm reading an article. So here's an article that I was just looking at. It's about healthy, active living. And as I went through here, maybe a word that I wanted to learn was this word here, restorative. So what I might do is right click on it, copy it. I select it first, and let's bring it over into the translate tool. And I'm going to translate from English to English. Okay, English to English. Um, and as I go through it, I'm going to paste my word, and it gives me lots of information about that word. There's a listen button. It's really handy if you didn't know how to say the word or pronounce the word, or if you didn't know what it sounded like. This would allow you to hear that word. And then it gives me a definition, having the ability to restore health, strength, or a feeling of well-being. And then it gives me an example as a sentence, the restorative power of long walks. So an example of restorative, the restorative power of long walks. And the temptation again would be to be in a spot where I just move on with the article. But what I need to do is I need to spend a little bit more time with that word. So I'm going to open up, in your case, just take a piece of paper is what I highly recommend. Take a piece of paper, and I'm going to do it on screen just for us. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the word down. So I write the word down, and then maybe I also would like to include that little example, the restorative power of long walks. And the important step here actually is, if possible, writing it down. Now, you might have a document on your computer, and that's fine, and you could copy and paste these definitions onto it. But by writing it down, if possible, it allows me to spend a little bit of extra time on it. And experts say that the actual act of writing it with your hands, doesn't matter if you have pretty handwriting or not. You see my handwriting is not very good, but I still will write it down because by spending the extra time with it, it allows my brain to kind of process, to really sit with that word. And I'm going to write even more. I'm going to create like a little dictionary, really. So let's say I have the word strength, right? The quality or state of being physically strong. Cycling can help you build up your strength. And so again, I'm going to add that word. I'm going to do my own sentence to build your strength by working out. I can even use my own example. And what I'm going to do with this is every time I encounter a word I don't know, I'm going to add it to this piece of paper or to this notebook or whatever it is. And what I recommend is each night, at a set time, maybe right before bed, doesn't matter, as long as it's a set time, could be after supper, could be first thing in the morning, is I'm going to go through and I'm going to read each of my definitions again. I'm going to encounter them a second time. And then each day when I do it, so then the next day I come back and I have, let's say I have even more words down here. And so each day I'm coming in and I'm going over these words again and again. Each day I'm maybe adding one or two. You can see even here with the highlighter, it shows you, that first word that I did, the first two that I did, if I'm going back to this document every night, I'm going over these words again and again and again. Those, even if it was a word I encountered weeks ago, I'm still seeing it again. And that's going to really, really help to build my vocabulary. I've had students who do this and enjoyed really good success. And it's just to say, as people, when we're learning something, we can't be really expected to remember it the very first time we see it. So if I look up the word, write it down, and then review that word a number of times in the following days and weeks, yes, it's a lot of work, but I'm going to really be building up my vocabulary. So hopefully that's helpful in helping you to build your vocabulary and that it's a useful tool that you can make use of.